Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my initial reaction and gameplay of Trick and Treat. This is a visual novel that came out on Steam about a month ago, something like that. I've heard that there are 8 endings to this game. You have to, from what I know, you have to unlock 7 of them to get to the 8th one. I'm not 100% sure on whether or not that's true, but that's just what I heard. I also heard that there are cat people, some sorts like that, and I don't know. I don't really know what to expect from this game, but I don't know. Let's get into it. I haven't looked at it at all, so let's see what's going on. The sound of our footsteps, combined with that of the occasional nocturnal animal, is the only thing we can hear. It's terribly dark in this place. The dense vegetation makes it impossible to see the sky or light from the moon. Our flashlights are the only thing that light up our way. At times like this, one begs to not run out of battery. We walk without knowing what we are really looking for, or better said, for no reason. We are just a group of boys bored with our lives, trying to create a lasting memory on this night, instead of just staying home doing nothing. I'm gonna hide this really quick. Oh, never mind. Today is October 31st, All Hallows Eve, better known as Halloween. 3 young men walk through a dark, but up until now nothing special forest, me being one of them. We are doing it to prove our courage. It's too bad there isn't a girl here to see how brave we are. Seeing it like that, one could say this is a meaningless effort. For a moment, I stopped to look at my watch. It's 1:49 a.m. That means we have been walking aimlessly for more than 2 hours now. I'm sure that many people would find a place like this terrifying. Once you get used to it, the fear disappears, making it feel like normal. What makes us afraid of the dark is that we cannot know what hides in it, what lurks in the shadows. But this is clearly an empty darkness. At that moment I sigh, feeling how tired my legs are. What is the point of being here? Clearly we had already demonstrated what we wanted. It would be best to return, I should tell them. I was about to speak when suddenly the atmosphere in the forest becomes strange. Suddenly a cold chill runs through my body. It was like any other chill, except it was not going away. For no reason, the air's temperature dropped from one second to the other. So much so, my breath becomes visible, turning into mist. It doesn't end here. The air is now filled with a rotten smell, just a little short from being unbearable. Images of worms and flies soon appear in my mind, giving me a really unpleasant feeling. We all stop at that moment. What's happening? I asked, confused, while turning to my friends. By the expression on their faces, it was easy to know they were just as lost as I was. It was then we heard footsteps nearby that did not come from any of us. We all got dead quiet after that. I don't know if it was out of fear or to check if it was not a mistake, but we stayed motionless, like statues, without making a noise. Just looking at each other's faces, wondering the same thing. What was happening? As if I could know. We heard the steps again. They clearly belonged to a human, or at least to a large animal. But there's something strange about them. It sounds as if the person was walked. Oh, my bad. It sounds as if the person walked dragging one foot. Just thinking about it made me shiver. Damn, why is this happening? It makes no sense. We should have returned home before, but now it's too late to regret it. I have the feeling that we are being stalked by someone. The strange footsteps stop, but I'm feeling the presence nearby. I don't know where it is, but I know that it's looking at me. That cursed thing is looking at me. My heart is beating anxiously. It's almost as if my body was telling me to get out of there, but strangely, my friends seemed unable to perceive it. It seems that it's gone. It must have been just an animal, said one of them, convinced that we were safe. I would like to believe that too. We had a sigh of relief. However, bad luck would soon strike us again. Unexpectedly, the forest becomes darker than before in just the blink of an eye. But that wasn't the fault of the forest, but of our flashlights, which went out. Of the 3, only one, mine, was still working. What's going on? Did the batteries die? Asked one of them, scared, while they both beat them desperately. as if that was going to revive them. I can't blame them. The idea of walking in the darkness was not pleasant for anyone, but after a few moments we had no choice but to resign ourselves to that. Once more the sound of our footsteps is heard, but the silence is different now. We are not quiet because we have nothing to say, but because we are afraid. We continue walking despite the fear that invades us. Visibility is almost zero, but we have no choice. In theory, we were walking back looking for the exit, but I cannot remember anything of this forest. We could be walking in circles, and I would never notice it until it is too late. I hate the thought of it. I just want to get out of... Suddenly my thoughts are silenced. We hear the footsteps of someone, or something. Once more, the three of us become statues, awaiting the presence to go. I hold my breath while feeling my heart beating anxiously. Damn! Get away from here and leave us alone! Unexpectedly, the steps are heard closer. This time, they do not disappear, but rather come at us. I can't stand it. Desperately, I move my flashlight everywhere, looking for the author of these footsteps, hoping for the light to reveal their identity and erase our fears. Nothing, nothing, nothing. Is that all there is around here? Just empty air? My anxiety grows with each failed attempt. I refuse to believe it was a ghost. Suddenly, when I move the flashlight again, I see a silhouette. I could not distinguish what it was, but for a moment, the light revealed something. Quickly, I point to the same place only to discover it was gone. I hold my breath anxiously. It was not an illusion. I am sure that I saw something. It was then that I hear something nearby. Without even thinking, I aim the light towards that place. What have I found? Leaves us paralyzed with an expression of disbelief on our faces. It was a white cat with eyes of an intense red, which stands before us. Her look is not the friendliest, to say something. I feel like I said that weird. Somehow, I get the feeling it's a female cat. Suddenly, she lets out a thunderous meow that leaves us terrified. It sounds more like a lion roaring than a simple cat. The echo of her meow is heard throughout the forest, making it sound more sinister than it should be. It was then that suddenly an inexplicable force hits us three. I fell to the ground, and little by little my eyelids close. The fatigue becomes unbearable. I lose consciousness on the ground of the forest without knowing what was going to happen with me. It is a day like any other, so normal it was almost painful. The only special thing that could be said about it is that it's October 31st. 31st. Okay. Far were the memories when I was a kid and went out with my friends to ask for sweets from house to house. Just remembering it made me sigh. I feel nostalgic. Some things were better when I was a child, or at least seems like that. There were some who had good costumes, whether of superheroes or monsters. My friends and I, on the other hand, had to use our imagination. Creativity was our one costume, you could say, no matter how funny it could sound. I remember that my mother once painted red my face and told me, "You will be the devil." But it seems only she saw it that way. When we went from home to home, everyone said I was the Tomato Man. But those things didn't matter to me since we always had a good time. If I asked for candy now, even if I had the best costume, I'm sure no one would give me anything. Except perhaps a scolding for acting like a child when I'm 17 years old. But anyway, I can't stay in the past. I must live in the present, no matter how little exciting that might be. Back to reality. We are a group of friends who don't have any plans for today. We are still not old enough to go to a disco, and I doubt guys as us would have any luck in that environment. The other option would be go to a party, meet girls, and have fun. Everything perfect, except that nobody has invited us. Not being popular has its disadvantages. Same, Axel, same. Hey Axel, let's have a couple matches, what do you say? My friend Steven called my attention while playing with the game console. Rush Red. Oh, that's the... Rush Red. I believe that's what the game is called. A fast and quite complicated fighting game for me. I would normally agree to play with him, but for some reason I don't feel in the mood today. I have no desire to play now. I replied with discouragement. I almost feel bad for doing it. Boring! The AI is no rival for me, Stevens said with confidence. That you're playing on normal difficulty does not help your argument. I don't feel like losing, but if you want, you can challenge to Alfred, I said, leading the attention of my other friend. I don't know how to play that, answered Alfred, doubting for a second. He is sitting behind the PC, but it seems that he isn't doing anything interesting. The screen only shows a lot of text. I think he is in Wikipedia. Hey, don't you have something more fun to do? I asked with discouragement, without even thinking about what he was reading. Alfred looked at me surprised. The actual problem of society is that people are not interested in discovering their history. He is one of those pseudo-intellectuals who are always looking for any rare information to appear smarter than others. When we forget our past mistakes, we are doomed to repeat them, he added later. What are you talking about? This village is small and its story is not interesting at all. Nothing outside of the normal has ever happened in it. Alfred laughs mockingly after hearing that. Your ignorance is worthy of praise. He pauses, filling his chest with pride. The very fact it is a small town is the reason it's full of mysteries. Did you know that 20 years ago, on this date, a man disappeared? So, what about it? I asked without being impressed or even interested in the least. Things like that happen all the time in all places. As I thought, you don't know the history despite living in this very place, Alfred said while adjusting his glasses, in an ignorant gesture. There is a legend behind the disappearance. That is what I was reading. After listening to him, I looked back on the computer screen with curiosity. It's then that I noticed that it was not Wikipedia, but some other page. Come on, read this and learn a little, Alfred said, inviting us to read what was on the screen. Both Stephen and I moved closer to read it. Town of Abingdon, Oxfordshire Country, 1994. I came to this town with only 400 inhabitants to support them in an investigation. Truth is that never in my life have I seen something this strange. I won't say your typical detective-ish nonsense that I have seen thousands of strange things in my life. I have seen many crimes, yes, some difficult to solve, but all of them were human. Even if you don't know how they managed to perpetrate the crime, you know that they are people like anyone else. In this case, I don't think I'm able to say the same thing. Truth is that I can't understand what happened. I was called for the disappearance of a man named Matthew Graham, 23 years, single. The last time he was seen, he was returning home from a Halloween party. He had drank alcohol but was still sober, or at least, that's what the witnesses said. Anyway, this is not something which can be explained with a simple drunkenness. He apparently got lost on the way home and decided to enter the forest called Oakwood. It had rained yesterday, so the ground was wet and muddy. We could easily find his traces, which were leading deep into the forest. Apparently, he walked for 3 hours before stopping. I say stop, but the truth is we don't know what happened then. The track suddenly ended up in a clearing in the forest, and that's all. There was no evidence of struggle, no other trace, or pieces of clothing on the ground. There was no blood, no footprints, or anything else. The depth of his last footprints and the position they were in indicated he was still walking. At no point he stood still. It was as if he had vaporized in the air, with all his clothes, in the middle of his walk. Obviously, I can't believe such a thing, but I can't give another explanation. The only thing I remember is that near the footprints, I sensed a faint smell of rot. However, there were no animal corpses nearby. It is ridiculous to think that he suddenly started to decay and became earth. In the end, the case was closed in just 3 days. With no evidence of any kind, we couldn't say anything, but that he decided to escape from the village. However, while officially there was no more to do, I couldn't sleep in peace. Thinking about what could have happened to him took away my sleep. In my mind, I thought all sorts of theories, like maybe everything was a plan developed by Matthew, but in the end, they all seemed impossible. I decided to investigate more on the issue. I searched the town for similar stories, and to my surprise, I found 4 more, all young men. The story was always the same. They walked into the forest alone, disappearing without trace. Even more curious is that all of them disappeared on the same date, October 31st. But there is more. A detail that completely eliminates the possibility that there is a killer or a kidnapper behind this. And that is the separation of the years. Roger Bacon disappeared in 1924. Mitchell Smith disappeared in 1867. Jason Black disappeared in 1813. And the worst of all, Oswald Taylor disappeared in 1707. It simply couldn't be possible. Well, there could be people that are imposters and imposing, and they try to, there are some people who are like, I'm going to, be a murderer like this person, or I'm going to be a criminal like this person, and they try and, I can't remember the name of it. There's a very specific term for it, but, for all this person knows, there could have been a few of those people. But I digress. My curiosity led me to dig deeper. I thought that the answer may be in the past of the forest. It was then when I discovered that what seemed to be a simple and boring forest actually had a great story. Excuse me. Before it was called Oakwood, or Oaks Forest, the place was called Witchwood. The word witch has huge similarity with witch. Taking into consideration that it is an old name and language changes over time, that indicates that it was the Forest of Witches. Apparently, more than 400 years ago, the people of the village believed witches lived in woods. Unfortunately, almost all the information is already lost. They were stories told in voice, without a properly written record. I just know that with the change of religion to Christian, people stopped seeing the witches with good eyes and began to hunt them. Apparently, the last one before her death cast a curse on the forest, which even today should continue to exist. Anyway, obviously I cannot accept something like that as the answer. In the end, I have no other choice than accepting that each one of them escaped from the village, using the legend of the forest to make it look like it was something supernatural. Interesting story. I didn't know that such a story was hiding in this town. I said, honestly surprised. Even if it is a lie, it managed to hold my interest. Wait, there's something more, Alfred said. At the same time, he scrolls to the comments. We read what is written there. A couple of comments call our attention. Both of them talk about some creature. At that time, they felt a horrible fear for what could happen to them. Well, the two comments showed great similarities, but they could have been written by the same person. There are many others that deny it. Looks like many people went to the forest because of the legend but couldn't find anything. I thought that you only read these things to look more cool before the girls, replied Stephen as a joke. Alfred giggles with a little shame. Partly yes. He admitted it. That was a secret everybody silently knew. Well, now we have an activity for tonight, Stephen said at the same time. He makes a face overflowing with enthusiasm. What? I asked, completely lost. I thought we were just killing time. Simple. Let's go to the forest. Stephen replied without hesitation. He seemed really fascinated by the story. Are you insane? Said Alfred, unable to believe what he just heard. You only need to look at his face to know he did not like the idea. Despite everything you've heard, you want to go? Of course! It would be a test of courage among us three, replied Stephen, full of confidence. Perhaps too much. You should relax a bit. Don't tell me you're afraid. No. Why should I be afraid? Answered Alfred. At the same time, he folded his arm, making a false gesture of security. It's more than obvious that you are afraid, Alfred. Almost as much as when you have to talk with a girl. And what about you, Axel? Don't tell me you won't come. Suddenly, Stephen asked me, at the same time looking at me mockingly. Don't tell me you want to be the chicken of the group. I hate that tone of voice he used. I will never give you that, I said without thinking, showing a confident smile and look. Well, let's not say more. Take your coats, backpacks, flashlights, and some food. We're going out to the forest, Stephen said, full of energy. Yeah! We three said in unison as if we were going to have some kind of private party, not really knowing what we were doing or what we were going to find. Alright, I think that's actually it for this episode, and we will continue in the next episode, the second part of this story. So, I hope to see you guys there. Don't forget to follow me on Twitch, on Twitter, and don't forget to watch my Astroneer Let's Play that's going on. And yeah, so, have a good one.